Hi, I'm Daniel Wong, and today we're going to be playing Pioneer Super Friends Turns, featuring Yorion Sky Nomad as the companion. So there aren't really a lot of taking turn spells in Pioneer. One of the few is Chance for Glory, so we're going to run with that one. So Chance for Glory is a 3-mana instant. It's very easy to forget that this is an instant. Creatures you control gain indestructible, take an extra turn after this one. At the beginning of that turn's end step, you lose the game. So a pretty steep cost for a 3-mana extra turn spell. So we have a few ways to not lose the game with Chance for Glory, the easiest of which is Gideon of the Trials, which can make an emblem that allows you to not lose the game as long as you control Gideon. Another is Days Undoing, which in addition to the Time Twister, everyone shuffles their graveyard in their library and draws 7, it also ends the turn, meaning the Chance for Glory trigger will never happen, and so you won't lose the game. Then the newest way is Discontinuity, which is a 2-mana way to end your own turn, and also a way to end the opponent's turn at 6 mana. In that sense, it's a little bit like a counterspell, a little bit like an extra turn effect. It's some kind of weird hybrid of all of those things. Our Planeswalker suite includes Teferi, Time Raveler, just an overall pretty strong Planeswalker for 3 mana. It stops your opponent from interacting at anything besides sorcery speed. The +1 doesn't really do much, but the -3 bounces and draws a card, so pretty powerful. Narset, Parter Veils. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card a turn, and its -2 lets you look for a non-creature, non-land card in the top 4. Narset is also a really nice wombo combo with Days Undoing. Days Undoing makes both players draw 7. Narset says your opponent can only draw 1 a turn, so your opponent will draw 1 and you'll draw 7. Very nice. Gideon of the Trials, as we already mentioned. The +1 prevents damage, which encourages the opponent to play even more creatures into our sweepers, Deafening Clarion and Supreme Verdict. Can also make that emblem that's good for not losing the game. Next, we have Narset of the Ancient Way. She's overall a pretty good Planeswalker. She doesn't have the 3-mana Narset's, no drawing clause, but her abilities are pretty strong. The +1 gains 2 life and adds a mana for non-creature spells, so that's pretty solid against aggro decks where they need to deal with this 5 loyalty Planeswalker, otherwise you're going to be gaining 2 life a turn, which aggro decks are just going to have a lot of trouble with. The -2 is you loot, and then you deal damage to a creature or a Planeswalker equal to the CMC of the discarded card. So this is pretty good at taking care of opposing Planeswalkers, opposing creatures, and also does a little bit of filtering, and the emblem more or less says you win the game. Jace, Architect of Thought. He's pretty good as a mini Fact or Fiction with that -2. You reveal the top 3 cards of your library, the opponent separates them into 2 piles, then you pick one. It's really good. We need to just fill your hand up. The +1, creatures your opponents control get -1/-0 when they attack. It's also pretty good against aggro decks. You don't usually ultimate this Jace though. Then we have another pretty cool new card, Teferi, Master of Time. So unlike other Planeswalkers, you can activate Teferi, Master of Time's abilities at instant speed, meaning you get to use a +1 on your turn, then either a +1 or a -3 on the opponent's turn. So the +1 is just a loot, draw and then discard. The -3, a creature phases out. So phasing out is pretty interesting. It means that that creature effectively doesn't exist until your opponent's next untap step. And that can get a little bit awkward with sorcery speed interaction like, Oath of Chandra or Gideon's Plus or one of our sweepers. So you really have to be careful about what you phase out because you won't be able to kill it with a sweeper on your turn if you phased it out on your opponent's turn. And then its ultimate is also pretty nice at -10. Take 2 extra turns after this one. So a 3 loyalty Planeswalker getting to -10 sounds like a lot when it only has a +1. But since you get to use it on your turn and your opponent's turn, it actually gets to ultimate relatively quickly. Then we have Big Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. +1 draws a card and untaps 2 lands. -3 tucks something into the 3rd from the top. And -8 also basically says you win the game. And finally, to top it all off, we have Elspeth, Sun's Champion. Her +1 makes a bunch of soldiers, so she's really good at making chump blockers. Her -3 destroys creatures with power 4 or greater, so not quite a Wrath, but it can be a Wrath against certain decks. And her ultimate also probably says you win the game, assuming her soldier creature tokens survived. Then for interaction, we have some Oath of Chandras, basically a 3 damage spell that sticks around and therefore is good with Yorion. Yorion can blink it and have Oath of Chandra deal another 3 damage. Detention Sphere, just a good catch-all for anything that you can't otherwise deal with. Deafening Clarion, 3 damage for 3 mana. Pretty solid sweeper. Shark Typhoon. Now, this is pretty interesting. Because we're also a Fires of Invention deck, we usually have a lot of mana that goes to waste. So having a Shark Typhoon in the late game can be very powerful, since with your fires out, you get your 2 spells, so you get tons of mana worth of spells. Then on your opponent's turn, you get to cycle the Shark Typhoon, get a big shark, and also draw a card. So pretty solid deal. We don't have more Shark Typhoons because I did find that it is pretty mana hungry, especially in the early game. You don't always just have the extra 2 mana to cycle this in the early game when you'd rather be, casting an Oath of Chandra, for example. Then we have 3 Supreme Verdict, just a very solid sweeper, and an Elspeth Conquers Death. So this is a pretty cool saga. It's mostly used for that first mode, where you exile a permanent an opponent controls with mana cost 3 or greater. The second chapter doesn't really do much. Non-creature spells your opponents cast cost 2 more to cast. But the ultimate is also pretty good. You get to get a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard. For us, it's usually planeswalkers. And then you get to put either a +1/+1 counter or a loyalty counter on it. So getting to, reanimate one of your dead planeswalkers, especially if it's an Elspeth or a Teferi, is pretty solid. This card also stays on the battlefield for a little bit, which means it works well with Yorion. You get to exile multiple permanents if you play an Elspeth Conquers Death and then cast Yorion and blink the Elspeth Conquers Death. I already mentioned this briefly, but we are a Fires of Invention deck. We use this to basically accelerate our mana starting on turn 4 so that we can, play a whole bunch of planeswalkers and just give the opponent a really tough time dealing with them all. Oath of Teferi is a really sweet one. When it enters the battlefield, you blink something until the end step. So this already works pretty well with all of the permanents that work well with Yorion, stuff like Oath of Chandra or Elspeth Conquers Death. It also allows us to activate our planeswalkers twice each turn instead of just once. So that is very, very powerful in a deck that has 16 planeswalkers. It also means with Teferi Master of Time, you get to activate this twice on your turn and twice on the opponent's turn. So you get to ultimate very, very fast with that combination of cards. I already mentioned Discontinuity, ends the turn. Pretty cool card. To round it all out, we have Omen of the Sea, which is one of the best cards to draw in a Yorion deck. You just get to play this on turn 2, and then eventually when you play Yorion, you get to draw another card. And then Fae of Wishes. So because we're an 80 card deck to support Yorion, we have basically our entire sideboard dedicated to Fae of Wishes granted. Basically just picking non-creature spells from our sideboard. So literally all 14 non-Yorion slots in the sideboard are meant to be wished for. So we have a whole bunch of utility cards. Tormod's Crypt and Rest in Peace for graveyard hate. Pithing Needle for any random activated abilities, good against opposing planeswalkers and stuff. Damping Sphere, good against the Underworld Breach Lotus Field deck. Days Undoing, good when you have Narset out. Narset, good when you have Days Undoing in your hand. Gideon, good when you have Chance for Glory and you need to not lose the game. Kefnet's Last Word. This is really good when your opponent has a particularly strong artifact, creature, or enchantment. Chandra Awakened Inferno. She's pretty interesting. She's very good against control decks because she can't be countered, and she provides a lot of inevitability with her +2, giving the opponent an emblem that pings them at their upkeep. She's also good as a sweeper. Her -3 does 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. You have to be really careful with that non-elemental clause for that -3. I've gotten got a couple times just randomly not killing like a Risen Reef or some creature that you didn't realize was an elemental. So just gotta be a little bit careful there, but Chandra's pretty good. We have a few more sweepers. Anger of the Gods, which is very good against mono black when you'd really rather be exiling their stuff. Deafening Clarion and Supreme Verdict. And then we have 2 cards that you can only cast with Fires of Invention out. Necromentia is pretty good against basically any combo deck where you can name one card and the opponent effectively can't win the game. And Casualties of War. So this one isn't quite a sweeper, but it is really cool that it can kill a whole bunch of stuff. The other thing that's really neat with Casualties of War is because you're going to have Fires of Invention out when you cast it, you can sometimes use that Destroy Target Enchantment mode to destroy Fires of Invention, and then use your mana to unload the rest of your hand. Pretty solid card overall. So because this deck is an 80 card deck, we sideboard almost none of these cards in ever. Pretty much we only bring in these sweepers against aggro decks, since against those aggro decks, you can't really afford to spend turn 4 casting Granted for the sweeper, and then cast the sweeper on turn 5. You're probably already dead by then, so you want to just increase the chances that you draw it. But for all of these other cards, you'd really rather just have them in the sideboard so you can wish for them. Over in the mana base, we have a bunch of cards with basic land types, literally every shock land in our colors. So Steam Vents, Sacred Foundry, Hallowed Fountain, 4 of each. We also have 4 Raugrin Triome, the Island Mountain Plains, so again, all of our colors. 2 Irrigated Farmlands, and also an island and a plains. Because we have cards with double white, Supreme Verdict, and with double blue, Narset and Jace and Teferi, our main colors are definitely white and blue. We have no double red cards aside from that Anger of the Gods in our sideboard. Then we have a bunch of check lands, 3 of each in our colors, Clifftop Retreat, Glacial Fortress, and Sulphur Falls. A bunch of Interplanar Beacon, which lets you gain a life whenever you cast a Planeswalker, so that's very good against aggro decks. A couple utility cards. Gaia Reach Sanitarium is very good with Narset Parter of Veils. Basically, you activate this during your opponent's upkeep while you have a Narset out, and then because they can only draw 1 card a turn, they, do the draw and discard of Gaia Reach Sanitarium, then they don't draw a card at their draw step, which means if they're hellbent, if they have no cards in hand, then activating this at their upkeep means they're never ever going to have a card in their hand, assuming you have that Narset out. Then we have Castle Vantress, which allows us to scry, and Castle Ardenvale, which allows us to make 1/1 humans. Alright, that's a lot of cards for an 80 card deck. Let's jump right into the matches. Okay, here we are for match number 1. We've lost the die roll. This hand looks pretty solid though. Let's see, we have a companion and our opponent does not. If our opponent's an aggro deck, we can Deafening Clarion on turn 3. Otherwise we have Teferi, we've got Fires, we've got Shark Typhoon. This is definitely a keeper. Probably turn 1 we're going to play the Irrigated Farmland because we really need lands. Alright, Hallowed Fountain from the opponent, so that's probably either Spirits or Control. This deck has a really tough time against Bant Spirits, mainly because a lot of their cards just interact very favorably with ours. They've got stuff like Selfless Spirit to deal with Deafening Clarion. Ooh, wasn't expecting this one. Concealed Courtyard. What the heck? Whenever you cast a historic spell, target player mills 2 cards. Artifacts, legendary sagas are historic. Mox Amber. I think the opponent is on that combo deck. Lurrus. Not as a companion, that's neat. What does this little symbol mean? I don't think we're going to be playing that Fae of Wishes. We might wish for a Tormod's Crypt, since I think the combo involves basically milling a whole bunch of stuff. There's that one legendary duder, the Abzan legendary duder, who lets you cast legendaries from your graveyard. Lazov the Multifarious. Be Surveil 1, X mana becomes a copy of target creature in your graveyard with CMC X, except his name is Lazov. Alright, there's a lot of cards here that I've never seen before. Wishclaw Talisman. Okay, that's a neat one. Definitely gonna need to do a lot of reading here. So this is basically a tutor for 3 mana. Opponent has put another Diligent Excavator in the graveyard. The opponent played an Urborg. They cast a Hope of Girapur. Man, I really don't understand what's happening. Okay, well, they only have 2 cards in hand. They do have another mana with this Mox Amber for Lazov. But hopefully this Deafening Clarion is gonna be good. Interesting. Spire of Industry. This deck is just all over the place. Alright, I think we need to cast the Deafening Clarion, so let's make sure we do the correct mode. There's actually 2 correct modes and 1 incorrect mode, so, whatever. I really hope the opponent doesn't have a counterspell, which they don't. Great. Emery. Build Teferi, Blooming Marsh, Godless Shrine, Springleaf Drum. This is a crazy deck. Okay, well, I was going to say we can Fae of Wishes for Tormod's Crypt, but given that we don't have a land, we can't do that, so our only real play is to do this. And I think we're going to want to bounce that Emery. Yeah, it's just going to bring back Hope of Girapur. We need to try to draw land. We did, nice. So we can still next turn go Fae of Wishes for Tormod's Crypt, but I think it might be better to cast Fires of Invention into Supreme Verdict, assuming the opponent just casts Emery again. Which may not be what they're doing. There's a Lurrus. Huh. Well, it still might be important to Fires into Supreme Verdict. Oh, they can get Springleaf Drum with that? Oh yeah, that's neat. That is a permanent card. Oh, that's neat. That's really cool. Alright, yeah, we definitely need Supreme Verdict. No two ways about it. What did they mill? Hope of Girper, Hallowed Fountain, Blooming Marsh. What the heck? Niambi, Esteemed Speaker. Flash, ETB, return a thing neutral to its owner's hand. If you do, gain life equal to CMC. 3 mana, discard a legendary card, draw 2 cards. There's a lot of cards that I'm reading for the first time here. Well, plus. And then we theoretically could just Supreme Verdict on their turn, but we don't want to give them an M reactivation and another Lurrus, so Supreme Verdict now. Well, Fires first and then Supreme Verdict. So now I think we might be safest if we Fae of Wishes into Rest in Peace. Liliana the Last Hope. Huh. Alright, mill 2 and get something back. They get Hope of Girper. Alright, well we have a Shark Typhoon that can possibly eat that, so let's see. So I think the plan is Fae of Wishes for Rest in Peace. And then hold up Shark Typhoon. Sounds pretty good to me. Let's see. Other stuff we could do is cast a fairy. We could get Kefnit's last word, which just doesn't sound good. Because Fires limits us to 2 spells, we can't do both Narset and Days Undoing, which would be the best thing to do in my opinion, but I don't have that option. Yeah, I think it's got to be Fae of Wishes into Rest in Peace into Shark Typhoon. Wish granted. RIP in peace. Alright, your go, opponent. Opponent foolishly activating their Liliana now means that they won't get to activate it on the Shark post-combat. Pretty good for us. It was probably not a card on the opponent's radar, although there are a lot of cards that the opponent was playing that aren't on my radar. Okay, and we've won game 1. Another quick look. So Kethis. This is the key card of the deck. Legendary spells you cast cost 1 less. I forgot it had that clause. Exile 2 legendary cards from your graveyard. Until end of turn, each legendary card in your graveyard gains you may play this card from your graveyard. So the key here is you have Kethis plus this thing out, and then you just keep casting a whole bunch of legendary cards. This thing just keeps milling you, and then eventually you win with, I don't know, something. Maybe a Thassa's Oracle. Who knows? Alright, so in terms of sideboarding, like I said, we really don't sideboard much besides the Wrath effects. And one tricky thing is Anger of the Gods is way better than all of our other Wrath effects because it exiles. So the question is, do we want it in the deck where we can draw it naturally, or in the sideboard? And then almost every other card we probably want in the sideboard. There is an argument for bringing in Rest in Peace, and then we'll always have Fae of Wishes for the other one, for Tormod's Crypt instead. I feel like we're just so much less likely to draw a singular card in an 80-card deck that I feel like bringing this in isn't worth it. And then I feel like Anger of the Gods is probably not the card that we want to be wishing for, since we probably want to wish for Rest in Peace or the other thing, Tormod's Crypt. So I think we can bring in Anger of the Gods, and I'm not sure about the other. Not sure about the other Wraths. Oath of Teferi seems a little bit slow, as cool of a card as it is. Let's try it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. We are going second. This hand's a little rough. We don't have the red for Deafening Clarion or Anger of the Gods, but we do have Fae of Wishes. We can cycle the Shark Typhoon on 2 to try to hit our lands. Yeah, I'm not super happy about this one, but I think I'm going to keep it. Having Fae of Wishes for Tormod's Crypt, I think, is going to be pretty good against this kind of combo deck. Uh-oh. Well, one of my rules of thumb about Thoughtseize is your hands don't get better against a Thoughtseize deck by mulliganing. So even though they get to take our best card, which is probably Fae of Wishes, I think this is probably better than taking a mole still. Oh, interesting. They took Shark Typhoon. I guess they might have something else to deal with Fae of Wishes. Kind of surprised. This is basically the card that that killed them last time. Right, well, I guess we might not be drawing land. Opponent has so many colors in their deck, it's crazy. Alright, well, unfortunately that's another uncastable red card. Could cast the Fae of Wishes, but that just feels silly. I think we need to cast Granted. Alright, there's Kethis. Oh man, I didn't realize this was a 3/4. I thought this would die to our removal. It does not. There's a lot of things about this card that I just didn't know. Alright, well, at least we drew a land. Not a red land, so that kind of sucks, but, you know, we'll deal with it. Okay, opponent's getting in for 3. It is incredible to me that they have the lands to cast a 3-color spell like this on turn 3. Wow. And then Liliana's cheaper. Opponent's deck is just so crazy. Okay, let's see here. I can Fae of Wishes for Tormod's Crypt. I can Fae of Wishes for Rest in Peace. Tormod's Crypt. We can Teferi. So if we Teferi, we can phase out the Kethis, but then Teferi is kind of a sitting duck. Teferi will help us hit lands though, which is pretty important, but I also feel like if we get the Rest in Peace down, then we'll be in okay shape. This Liliana ultimate is going to be kind of scary. I think it's got to be Fae of Wishes for Rest in Peace. The opponent also could have a Mystical Dispute here, which would be pretty annoying. Then it doesn't really matter. Like, we couldn't resolve either of these, basically. Yeah, the next turn we can Fae of Wishes plus Rest in Peace. And then we can Teferi, and we can basically use Fae of Wishes as a chump blocker to keep Teferi alive if we need it to. The Liliana minus means that the Fae of Wishes will die to... Oh, man. Opponent got another Kethis in hand. Okay. Hope of Ghirapur. Uh-oh. Springleaf Drum. Alright, so opponent has 2 non-Kethis cards in their hand. So do I go Rest in Peace plus Fae of Wishes and then try to block Hope of Ghirapur? Or do I go Rest in Peace plus Oath of Chandra and then kill the Hope of Ghirapur? I feel like Fae of Wishes is a little too fragile if the opponent has just some random removal spell, and then if the opponent hits us with this Hope of Ghirapur, that's gonna be a disaster. So I think gotta try doing Rest in Peace and Oath. Not super sure about this, but just realized Hope of Ghirapur is free when Kethis is out. That's kind of crazy. Right, we are losing life, so we are going to 11. It has 4 cards in hand. One of them is a Kethis. Okay, well, we've drawn a land, so that's good. We could Narset and then pitch Discontinuity to kill this Kethis, but then the opponent just gets to play another one, and we would need to lose both Teferi and Narset with what we have in hand right now in order to kill that one. I feel like phasing out Kethis is just not enough right now. So I think we gotta cast this and possibly pitch this Discontinuity. And then I guess theoretically we could double Wrath if the opponent has, Kethis plus some other stuff. We do need another red to do that, but in the meantime, Well, that's not what I wanted for Discontinuity, but at least it did something. Really hoping it would be more exciting than that. And there's an Oath of Chandra trigger. So opponent has 5 cards in hand now. One of them's Kethis. Let's see if they play it. Yeah, alright. So there he is. Ooh. Okay, that's kind of nice. Let's see, if we plus Narset, then we can even cast both Teferis. It's kind of cool. Alright, let's see what we draw. Omen of the Sea. Not bad. I guess we'll get to see what we draw with this Teferi as well. We're probably getting rid of Anger of the Gods, but I don't know, we'll see. Do we need this land? Land doesn't really do anything. Alright, your turn, opponent. Oh, I guess we actually can double spell because of Narset. I didn't even think about that. Alright, and now even though we're tapped out, we don't F6 on the opponent's turn because we can use Teferi Master of Time. Okay, there's Kethis. Teferi Time Raveler. Bouncing our Rest in Peace. Interesting. That seems like the wrong time to do that. Okay. Okay. One has 3 cards in hand left. Anyway, yeah, it feels like the wrong time to be bouncing Rest in Peace because, oh, Supreme Verdict. That's way better than casting 2 removal spells. Okay, so let's see what we're doing with all these thingy-doos. Blessing that one. Blessing that one. Let's see. So if we get rid of this, we can go Narset plus, and then 3 lands, cast Supreme Verdict, play a land, cast Rest in Peace, cast Omen of the Sea. That sounds good. Buy Anger of the Gods. Cast Rest in Peace first. Alright, and let's see what we see with Omen of the Sea. 2 lands, I don't think we need those. Bottom both. Oath of Chandra. Not great, but we might end up throwing it at Lily or Teferi using one of Narset's abilities. And again, we don't want to F6 because we have this Teferi. Abrupt Decay. That's really unfortunate. Okay, and they got a Lazav. Another Kethis? Oh man. And there's Lazav. Suppose I should have kept that Anger of the Gods when I had the chance. Oh shoot, didn't activate Teferi. Misclick. Alright, well, activate him now. Okay, get rid of a land. So I could Narset minus throw something at Kethis and then use Yorion for 8 mana. That doesn't feel good enough. Alright, here's something else I can do. I can spend 3 mana to put Yorion in hand, -2 Narset to throw Yorion at Kethis, and then use Oath of Chandra to get rid of Lazav. Let's see. So based on that, I would also have enough mana to cast Omen of the Sea. So let's see if we see something better. Something better would be like a Supreme Verdict or a Deafening Clarion. Let's see, with Jace, we can throw Jace at Kethis, so I think that actually does count. And then Narset is pretty good, and I think I would rather just cast Narset than put Yorion in our hand, so let's top both of those. Let's see, I guess we're plusing Teferi. Minus Narset. Throw Jace at Kethis. Use Oath of Chandra. Oh man, I hope I tapped correctly. Okay, I did tap correctly. Wasn't paying enough attention there. So let's keep this Oath of Chandra and then shoot that Lazov. And then let's see what kind of stuff we find with Narset. Also gaining a lot of health back, which is kind of cool from that original Kethis beatdown. Let's see. Ooh. We don't have an easy way to end the turn for Chance for Glory, so I think I'll take Elspeth. And then I'm going to keep this land in hand to pitch with Teferi, and I'm going to remember to activate Teferi on my opponent's turn this time. That Oath of Chandra is doing work. Opponent's at 12. Alright, the opponent's Teferi is back up to 3. Opponent's Liliana is ticking down. They're probably going to get Kethis again. Wow, they have Vraska Golgari Queen. Let's see. Yes, they did take Kethis. I feel like we've killed a lot of Kethises. Man, 3/4 is so awkward. It doesn't die to Elspeth, but it doesn't die to Deafening Clarion or Oath of Chandra either. That's that's not good. Oh boy. They're gonna sack something? They don't get to draw a card if they do. I really thought they were going to Abrupt Decay something. That's weird. I don't understand why they just did that, but okay. Let's see, can this be activated at instant speed? Yes, it can. Alright, well, the opponent's out of cards, so... Oh. Alright. Let's see, what are they getting? Oh. Okay. I'll see you for the next match. Okay, here we are for match 2. We've won the die roll. Let's reveal our Yorion, and the opponent does not have a companion. Let's see. 4 lands into Narset into Jace. We can play a Fae of Wishes on turn 2 if we need a blocker. That sounds great to me. Right, Steam Vents go. Oh, this is my friend Ari. He's always on Inverter. Alright, let's see what Ari takes. I feel like this is probably a tough one for Ari. Narset and Jace are both just such value, but Ari doesn't know all the things that we can do with Fae of Wishes. One thing that's kind of cool is doing Necromentia for Inverter of Truth. Yeah, basically it means they can't flip their deck. Alright, let's see. He took Narset. I think we're gonna play this Interplanar Beacon and just cycle an Irritated Farmland, since we have enough lands for now. This farmland is just, it's really upset. It's very irritated by, you know, getting Thoughtseized and stuff. Thassa's Oracle, huh? It's generally not the turn 2 play that Inverter usually makes. Those of you who don't know, this is the Wombo combo where it allows you to win the game instantaneously. Did Ari put a card on top? I assume he did. Card on top, yeah. That's totally fine. Oh, that's an interesting visual glitch. Anyway, now that we've drawn Teferi, the Inverter decks sometimes run Hero's Downfall, so I'd like to just get some value out of this Teferi before it potentially dies. So I'm just going to go ahead and bounce Thassa's Oracle just so we can draw a card with the Teferi and, you know, whatever. opt from Ahri. And Thassa's Oracle again? Yep, there it is. A little bit of background. Ahri was the trophy leader up until, I think, 1 p.m. today when he got overtaken by some other duder. So Ahri is really into Pioneer, and he really, really likes playing Inverter. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's among the best Inverter players in the world right now. Probably why he's taking his sweet time thinking about all the crazy things he can do. This, looking at the top 2 cards of his library with Thassa's Oracle. So on our turn, I'm probably going to just Jace, and again just try to get some value by using the -2. Jace won't die since it'll be at 2. Thassa's Oracle can only hit for 1, and Teferi also won't die to this Thassa's Oracle. I'll play the known Steam Pens. Again, just trying to get some value before a potential hero's downfall. Oh no, Ahri doesn't trust us. Oh. Let's see. I'm actually not a huge fan of these piles. I think Omen of the Sea is probably better. I wonder if that means Ahri has a quick kill coming. My instinct is to just take the Omen of the Sea and Discontinuity, but Ahri can potentially go next turn Inverter, and then following turn either a Thassa's Oracle or a Jace. And that sequence would kill us, but Discontinuity would save us. So I guess I'd take Discontinuity then. I don't really like it, but I guess so. I really wanted to take the pile that had 2 cards in it. 2 cards, as you know, is twice as good as 1 card, so. Ooh, Little Jace, Vryn's Prodigy. And another Thassa's Oracle? Oh man. Ahri's really going deep looking at cards. Alright, and there are 3 cards in the library, so Jace doesn't have a free flip here, but it is pretty easy for Ahri to cast just any instant or sorcery. Let's see. Sure, Jace goes to 1. It is pretty easy for Ahri to just cast any instant or sorcery and you know, then flip Jace and maybe Thoughtseize us. So I think I'm gonna Omen of the Sea, looking for either a 3-mana Wrath or an Oath of Chandra, so we can get rid of this Jace, and neither of these are it. And that's also not it. Let's see. So I either want to put Yorion in hand or cycle this Triome. I'm not sure which one. I feel like Yorion isn't going to do enough right now, so I feel like I want to cycle the Triome. So, well, I guess I'll play a Glacial Fortress, and that way if we draw a Supreme Verdict, it'll be castable, whereas if I play this Interplanar Beacon, we won't have double white next turn. Yeah, challenging game. I'm also going to need to watch my time. This is still game 1. All right. The Wielder of Mysteries has arrived. Killing himself. All right, so he's going to flip Jace then. Also eliminate. Yep. All right, our thoughts are getting seized. End step, and then we'll use the Triome. Wonder if you forgot about that. Okay, well, let's see what we draw. That sucks. So here's something cool. We can cast Chance for Glory this turn, and the next turn cast Fae of Wishes for Gideon and make an emblem. And then Ahri's going to have a tougher time dealing with... Yeah, I think I like that. Given that Eliminate in the graveyard, we probably won't be too long for this world. I think it's okay. Anyway. I might as well put Yorion in hand as well. Okay, or we have a natural Gideon into, I guess Yorion, Blink. Oh, Blink a whole bunch of stuff. All right. We're looking pretty good. I don't even think we want to, actually, maybe we do bounce Thassa's Oracle. So I'm thinking we can bounce Thassa's Oracle with Teferi and then reset Teferi with Yorion. But I'm not even sure if we want to give Ari another trigger or not. I feel like maybe... Well, let's see. That would keep Jace at a higher loyalty so we could minus him again. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna do it. Doesn't feel great. Let's see. If I play Fires and then play Yorion, I can blink Teferi, Jace, Omen, and Fires. And then I'll have 3 mana left and I can play Gideon. Pretty sick. We'll have 3 mana left. Play Gideon. Okay, there we go. Selected everything. All right. Yeah, I need to watch my time. I am taking a while, so I'm going to try to play a little bit faster. Emblem. Go to our end step. We're going to have trigger from multiple triggers. Let's see. Both of those suck. Hello, bottom. All right, yeah, that was not bad. All right, Ari mills himself. Let's see what we can grab with this Fae of Wishes. Let's see, Chandra's not too bad. You could grab Days Undoing in preparation for Narset Days Undoing. All right, getting inverted. So Ari has Eliminate and Dig Through Time in his library. Ari, I've got some bad news for you. Oh wait, no, he's got Jace out. Dang it. I was just going to activate... It's going to go Fae of Wishes into Days Undoing. That would have been sick. But unfortunately, it is not so. So one part that's kind of a bummer is because I bounced that Thassa's Oracle, we also know that Ari has Thassa's Oracle in his hand. So that sucks. Got Jace. That Eliminate is also pretty unfortunate for us. I think we need to start with the Jace minus, see what happens. Alright, so I can granted for Necromentia to get rid of that Eliminate. Choose the right one. Eliminate, not eliminate the competition. Let's see. Cling to Dust, Inverter of Truth, Thassa's Oracle, Thoughtseize. Alright. So I can bounce the Fires, play Narset and Teferi, or can just bounce the Inverter. I'll just bounce the Inverter. So Ari gets to invert his deck again. Forgot about the play pattern with this. Yeah, definitely need to be playing faster though. Bye-bye Narset. Oh, my poor thoughts getting seized all the time. This is very tough. I could Kefnit's Last Word this. It's actually not the worst thing ever, given that Ari basically needs this to survive in order to do anything. Yeah, okay. All right, so Gideon at the big one, Yorion at the little one. All right, I gotta plus my planeswalkers, and then it'll be Ari's turn again. Right. Yep. Ari goes inverting the Thoughtseize and the Jace in his deck. So I guess at end step, we probably want to scry as much as possible. We won't get to untap because of that Kefnit's Last Word, but we'll still have fires for, you know, doing stuff. Not good. Let's see, we can Deafening Clarion plus Oath of Chandra to get rid of that inverter, so sounds good to me. All right, and let's do every mode. All right. Whew. That was a long one. We only have 10 minutes left, so there's 2 games left, so gonna have to play quickly for these sideboard games. I don't really like sideboarding anything against Inverter, so I think we're just gonna submit. Okay, here we are for game 2. We are going second. We're also low on time, so I'm gonna be trying to play faster and possibly commentating a little bit less, so sorry about that. I don't like it, but I'm going to keep it. We need to draw lands. My philosophy against Thoughtseize decks is your hands don't get better by mulliganing. So, all right. Well, I guess we can play both Glacial Fortress and Clifftop Retreat untapped now that we've played this Plains. Jace Vice President. Gotta play a blue land because we want to be able to cast Narset next turn if we draw a blue land. So interesting. Cling to Dust on his own Fabled Passage. Alright, so if Ari taps out next turn, I'm going to cast Chance for Glory into Fires of Invention Discontinuity, and then we'll have Narset and Teferi. Or maybe I'll just Supreme Verdict Jace if that's... Alright, I take it all back. I take it all back. Guess I'll just yield until end step then. See if we want to cast that Chance for Glory or not. This is probably a tough choice for him. We have a lot of very interesting options here. For example, taking Fires of Invention means we don't have the double blue for Narset or for Teferi. Pretty interesting. And there goes the fires. There's a Narset from Ahri. That's not good. We're having Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. So let's see. Do we cast Chance for Glory and then basically forced to Discontinuity on our own turn? It's not very good. It lets us draw another card, though, which we kind of need in order to get either of these things. I'd rather just blow up the Jace, not really worry about it. Rather blow up the Jace, even though that's another blue, or oops, even though that's another blue for our double blue spells here. You know, it is what it is. Notably, because that Cling to Dust exiled the Fabled Passage, there's only 4 cards in the yard. This wouldn't work if Ahri was getting to the oh man, discarded another Jace Vice President? What's going on here? Negate, uh-oh. Brutes. Thoughtseize. Brutes. Alright, well if this game becomes hopeless enough, I think we should probably concede and then try to win game 3. I don't think we're quite at hopeless enough yet. We still have, you know, reasonable draws that we can get to, but yeah, we'll see. Alright, there's Jace, Welder of Mysteries. So we can't really Chance for Glory as well on our turn. Oh, okay, well now we can. Let's see, does this do anything really? We just go Chance for Glory into Gideon? I mean, not really. I guess it just lets us cycle Chance for Glory and maybe play another land, so maybe that's worth it. Alright, let's draw a good card. I don't think that counts, but yeah, whatever. So we need to do this, otherwise we lose the game. And yeah, like I said, I don't think we're quite at fully hopeless, but it certainly is not looking good. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Alright, I'll go ahead and hurt myself on the Sacred Foundry. And then I think at our opponent's end step, we're going to cycle Shark Typhoon, make a 4/4, and then kill either Narset or Jace, not sure yet. Ahri still has that negate in hand, so that's kind of a big deal. Basically, if Ahri doesn't have a good way to get rid of this Shark Typhoon, then I think we're going to be okay, but otherwise, I think we're going to concede the game. Because he's established a pretty solid lead with the Narset and the Jace. Okay, there's a Jace Vice President. I think if Ahri has a removal spell for this shark right now, then it's probably time to give up and go home. I'm gonna give up and go home. Let's try again in game 3. I will just once again click submit. All right, here we are for game 3. We are going first. Here's our Yorion. Unfortunately, we can't keep a 1-lander with no colors. This one we can keep. I'll get rid of the Hallowed Fountain. All right. Yeah, I really don't like mulliganing against these Thoughtseize decks, but here we are, getting Thoughtseized. Wonder what he's gonna take. I think we need lands right now, so I am going to play this Irritated Farmland, since we are trying to work our way up to Teferi Hero. Alright, well, can get Mystically Disputed here, but whoops, I think we gotta do it. Okay, cool. So once again, I'm just gonna try to get my value in before Teferi gets eliminated, so, alright. Well, next turn we can double Omen. That's kind of cool. Ugh, Narset. That's not very cool. Negate, huh? Yeah, that Teferi doesn't really do anything. I don't think I want to put Yorion in our hand, so dig through time. Well, the cool thing about negate is that it doesn't do anything while Teferi's out, but if Ari has eliminate into hold up negate, that'll be annoying. Inverter of Truth. Uh-oh. See what we can see. Detention Sphere is kind of cool. Detention Sphere is kind of cool. Alright, so Thoughtseize, Fabled Passage, Opt. Oh, I guess probably, yeah, Ari has to have Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, right? Yeah, I guess actually if he has Thassa's Oracle 2, then we die. Yeah, I guess Detention Sphere wasn't actually cool enough. I didn't fully think through all of the different ways this could go. But now I guess if all he has is Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, then that's not good enough. Because that'll just mill him 2 and then draw his last card rather than draw his winning the game card. I guess he could draw that Opt that we know about. He targeted us. Okay, so we'll get rid of Narset so that we can draw some more cards. Chance for Glory is cool, but unfortunately we don't have a way to not lose the game. I guess if I cast Omen of the Sea now and we see something cool, like a land and a Gideon, then we'll be able to... It's not quite it. Think we can... Right. I guess I should have paid life on that so that we could scry the opponent's end step. Yeah. Actually... Oh, I just messed this game up. I forgot that Ari was just going to win the game. I needed to Detention Sphere the Jace. That was silly. Alright, well, he says he's got a backup Jace, so looks like we were just dead anyway. Alright, good game, Ari. Okay, here we are for match 3. Lost the die roll. Let's show our opponent our Yorion. This hand's missing red mana, so we can't actually cast Deafening Clarion. It's also missing a land for first Narset, and then a red land and another land for second Narset. This hand is certainly not great. But we do have triple sweepers, so if sweepers are good, then that's, you know, pretty solid. If we can cast Narset on turn 3, that's also pretty good. Yeah, I'm not really happy about this hand, but I'm going to keep it anyway. We'd really like a red source. Llanowar Elves from the opponent. This could be any of a number of things. There's another land, so that's good. Unfortunately, not a red source. So one deck that's been picking up popularity recently is the Winota deck. They usually play, you know, like Llanowar Elves and like Goblin Rabblemaster, basically just to get a whole bunch of ways to attack with non-humans, and then eventually get that one human from Ixalan that doubles creatures' damage output. Although this, yeah, these lands are making me think Winota. Anyway, that's not a red land, unfortunately, and it is instead a red spell, which is really not what we're looking for. We might just be too late, since this can be Winota coming down into an attacking elf. Yep, there she is. So for those of you who don't know this new card, whenever non-human you control attacks, you look at the top 6, which is kind of an insane number of cards. Then you can put a human from among them on the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Here is this one. So basically we really need a red source. And we're actually in pretty heavy danger of dying next turn. Okay, that's not it. Yeah, I don't think it really matters too much what we do here, since we really just need to draw land and we don't have a solid way to draw land anyway, so I'll just go ahead and Narset minus. Oh, there's some red lands that we could use. Yeah, this Jace won't really do anything. It's basically just a matter of if we can cast Supreme Verdict or not next turn, and even then there's a chance that we just die this turn. Let's see, we're looking at 4, 6, 7, 8. So if the opponent hits the damage doubling thing off this, then we're actually just dead this turn. So that's kind of rough. Interesting. Eldritch Evolution for what? Legion War Boss. Okay, that gives the opponent a lot of shots at hitting the damage doubler. That's 6 times 3. That's 18 cards deep. And the damage doubler, I think, will kill us because, yeah. It has, I think, 4 power, so that would be just Winota plus another 4 on its own is 8, and then double to 16. All right, that's not it. That's also not it. This is a lot of damage, though. Let's see. 2, 4. Oh, there's the damage doubler. All right. Yeah, we are dead now. Okay. This qualifies as an aggro deck, so I'll bring in the sweepers. Again, we don't really have time to be wishing for sweepers. Speaking of things that we don't have time for, let's take out some of the more expensive stuff. Let's see. Last card to take out. This may be a chance for glory. We don't really have too much time for those kinds of shenanigans, unfortunately. All right, here we are for game 2. We are going first. All right, we have a turn 3 sweeper and also a turn 4 sweeper, so that sounds pretty good. We can potentially wish for something from the sideboard. Not really sure what. A Grafdigger's Cage would be nice, but unfortunately we don't have that. Maybe I should have Grafdigger's Cage instead of Tormod's Crypt. Something to consider. I was mostly thinking of Tormod's Crypt as a way to interact with the graveyard on turn 4, since it costs 0 mana. But Grafdigger's Cage might just be better. And it looks like we're probably going to have to play this Irritated Farmland, since it's our only card with basic land types in our hand. So if we want this Clifftop Retreat to come in untapped, we will need this. Our opponent took a really long time to keep their 7. Yeah, I'm not really sure what we'll be wishing for. Alright, no elf from the opponent. It's good for us. We could cast this as just a 1/4, but that doesn't seem very good to me, so I'll pass. Tithe Taker from the opponent. That's a little bit annoying because of that Afterlife one. It means Spirit will stick around. Unfortunately, because we boarded in the Anger of the Gods, we can't wish for that either. I wonder if I should bother playing Gaia Reach Sanitarium, since I think it will be more helpful for the opponent than us. I'm gonna go with a no then. I also don't think I'm gonna, 1 for half this Deafening Clarion on half of a Tithe Taker, so. Oh, abilities your opponent's at. Alright, we would not even be able to activate Gaia Reach on our opponent's turn because of this. I didn't realize this counts abilities too. I thought it was spells only. Opponent took a real long time thinking about that Stomping Ground. There's an elf. And there's another elf. That's interesting. Okay, at this point, I'm kind of willing to sweep the elves. And probably we'd use a Deafening Clarion for that, since we want to save Supreme Verdict for Winota, which has 4 toughness. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Sure, we choose the right mode. And we are getting kind of close to casting this Elspeth Sun's Champion, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, unfortunately, none of these cards are especially effective right now. Oh, I was so busy thinking about what to wish for, I totally forgot to put Yorion in our hand on turn 3. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us. Interesting. I think I kind of want to Supreme Verdict that, given that the opponent will be able to search really deep for a Winota. Yeah. Not the best play, but play that I'm gonna make. Opponent also has no board now, so even though we're out of sweepers for the time being, still have stuff. So we'd really like to draw a land so we can either cast Elspeth or so we can cast Narset plus have Gaia reach up, which looks like probably Elspeth would be the better one. Elspeth minus would be pretty nice. Ugh. I guess I'll Teferi plus looking for a land, probably discard Fae of Wishes. That's a land. I could cast Fae of Wishes as a blocker, but that doesn't seem very good. I think most likely we'll Teferi minus on something. I'll also put a stop at our opponent's main phase in case they cast a Goblin Rabble Master or something. Alright, Tithe Taker. Eldritch Evolution. Getting Legion Warboss. So I guess I probably should have cast the Fae of Wishes now I'm thinking about it, since that would at least block Winota. Shoot, I messed up. I should have main phase Teferi minus the Legion Warboss so that opponent wouldn't get a Winota trigger. Yeah, that's annoying. I messed this turn up pretty bad. Just a Tithe Taker. So Teferi is going down no matter what. So I'm just gonna plus Teferi, see what we loot. Oh man. That's annoying. Oath of Chandra seems like it's gonna be useful. I think I gotta get rid of this Fae of Wishes. Yeah, that's annoying. I really should have played that Fae of Wishes. Oh, they didn't even kill Teferi? I was not paying attention to where they were attacking, I guess. Well, I suppose let's Deafening Clarion and then use Oath of Chandra to hit Winota. Oops. I guess I should have Teferi plussed first. Oh man, I'm making all sorts of mistakes. Yeah, I don't think we'll be using this Detention Sphere. Right, there's another Winota. So I guess I can minus Teferi on the Spirit so that opponent doesn't get a trigger, and then I can Elspeth to kill Winota. The annoying thing is if we phase out Winota here, then Elspeth won't be able to kill Winota. So yeah, it's a pretty huge sacrifice, but it is what it is. We're also going to lose Elspeth off that to the Spirit. It's kind of annoying. Maybe I should have kept the Detention Sphere over the Narset, but I was mostly thinking that we kind of need a way to get back in the game after we stabilize. I didn't realize we would spend so much time trying to stabilize. Alright, hopefully the opponent's last 2 cards are not Winota. Alright, there's a Tithe Taker. And an Eldritch Evolution for Winota. Well, that sucks. Yeah, I really should have kept that Detention Sphere. Wow, opponent straight up whiffed? Alright, well, Narset, you really gotta hit something good here. Gideon of the Trials doesn't quite count. Yeah, I don't think this counts. I'm gonna play the Sacred Foundry tapped, and then I'm gonna go for an upkeep Gaia Reach Sanitarium so that we'll be able to filter this Glacial Fortress. But the opponent won't be able to draw a card since we have Narset. Hopefully we can find a sweeper pretty soon. That's not it. Alright, well, goodbye stuff and things. Wait, what? The opponent just not hit anything? In the top 12 cards? That's insane. And these are all going at us? Wow, opponent got insanely unlucky here. Alright, Narset, do us good. Let's see. Narset of the Ancient Way doesn't quite work, so I think it's going to have to be Teferi Hero. We'll tuck Winota, the opponent will still have the 2 spirits. We'll also be able to play Gideon, so we'll be able to save probably Narset. Yeah, I think it is what we gotta do. So Winota is 3rd from the top right now. Unfortunately, this means opponent's gonna get to draw a card. Winota is now 2nd from the top. And opponent has given up. Okay, I don't think we want to change anything for game 3. Yeah, that seems good. Alright, here we are for game 3. We are going 2nd. Here's our Yorion. Alright, we have an Anger of the Gods, we have an Oath of Chandra on 2 for any potential elves or such. So, seems good to me. We're also probably going to play this Irrigated Farmland since we only have 3 lands in hand. We are a pretty mana hungry deck. Opponent has mulled to 6. Alright, let's see if they have a turn 1 elf. They do not. Rootbound Crag. So they either don't have the mana or they just don't have the elves. So there's a 3 mana Planeswalker, which is a good reason to be playing out our lands. Fortified Village, revealing Temple Garden. There's Voice of Resurgence. So notably, that means we might want to just Omen of the Sea on our turn, since we probably don't want to Oath of Chandra that. We're probably going to end up Anger of the Godsing it away. But if we wait until our opponent's turn to Omen of the Sea, then they will get an elemental, and we don't want that to happen. So let's go ahead and cast this now. Certainly use at least one of these lands, but I don't think we need both. Let's see. Yeah, either of these lands lets us cast Supreme Verdict, so let's just go ahead and get that Interplanetary Beacon. Then hopefully the opponent just plays something that we want to anger away this turn. Yeah, second Voice of Resurgence counts. Opponent only has 3 cards in hand, so we're going to get our nice 2-for-1 here. And we'll see what happens after that. So notably, because Anger of the Gods is going to exile these instead of kill them, that means the opponent is not going to get elementals. Whereas if we had like waited until Supreme Verdict, then the opponent would be getting those elementals, and that would be very bad for us. Alright. 4 mana. Oh no, Pia and Kieran Nalaar. So we could just Supreme Verdict that away. I mean, it's kind of just like a 1-for-1. Opponent only has 2 cards in hand. I was really hoping they would just play something that we can Teferi bounce, but I think probably we'll Supreme Verdict this turn, and the next turn we'll play one of our 3 mana Planeswalkers plus probably Oath of Chandra. So I think that verdicting this turn is okay. Mostly I don't want the opponent to have any non-human creatures in case they cast a Winota. Then they'd be able to dig real deep for their creatures. Alright, there's an Elvish Mystic and a land. So I kind of just want to play Narset and then Oath of Chandra the Elvish Mystic. Sounds pretty good to me. Almost, yeah, I'm certainly going to play this Castle Ardenvale. Right, let's see what we hit on this Narset. Supreme Verdict seems like a good one. We could take Fires, but I think I'd rather have the interaction. And we've won the match. I'll see you for the next one. Okay, here we are for match 4. We have lost the die roll. So our opponent are Yorion, and they're showing us Lurrus. So I think most commonly that's burn. Yeah, we can't play one lander with a colorless land. This hand isn't good. I'm gonna keep it and hope that Omen of the Sea finds us something good, but this is not a good hand. Alright, let's see what the opponent's on. They could also be Hardened Scales, which this forest seems to... Okay, I don't know what Lurrus Forest Arboreal Grazer means. I wonder if they're on Underworld Breach. I don't think that has any permanents that Lurrus cares about. Satyr Wayfinder. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I mean, they can't be playing Uro if they're playing a Satyr. They are an Underworld Breach deck? Interesting. Okay, and they took Thespian Stage. Alright, well, they only have 3 cards in hand. I'm a little confused on their particular build of this deck. Cycling a Sheltered Thicket. Okay. Sylvan Scrying, I'm quite certain they're getting Lotus Field. So for those of you who don't know this combo, Lotus Field taps for 3 mana, but when it enters you need to sack 2 lands. So the opponent's going to sack their 2 lands, then use Thespian Stage to copy that. Then they'll have 2 lands that tap for 3 each. Then they'll use untap effects plus an Underworld Breach to basically make a bunch of mana and use Underworld Breach to get a bunch of cards and stuff. It's going to be disgusting, basically, is the bottom line. Let's see. Deafening Clarion doesn't really do anything. Second Omen of the Sea, I mean, maybe draws us to something meaningful. Right now, we can Gideon and make an emblem. That's our only real interaction. Guess I'm going to top the Omen then. And hope that the opponent just doesn't have much. So I could either Omen of the Sea and look for interaction for turn 4, or I could Gideon, make an emblem, and hope that's good enough. I mean, I feel like we're kind of sitting ducks here, so I'm gonna do what I can in making an emblem and see what happens. Generally, they have bounce spells, so this isn't like a surefire win the game type of dealio, but it is going to just make it more difficult for them because they're going to need that kind of other interaction in order to do anything. Yeah, so I think they're going to spend this turn just copying the Lotus Field. They've made some mana with these 2 lands that they're now going to sacrifice and probably use the Thespian Stage to now copy the Lotus Field. And they'll be at approximately infinite mana, give or take. Alright, so one of our best draws, I think, would be Chance for Glory, because that allows us to go Fires of Invention, Chance for Glory into Omen of the Sea, and hopefully be able to interact. That's not it. So we don't have anything on 2 mana that interacts, so I think what that means is I'm going to shock Fires of Invention, Omen of the Sea, looking for interaction. Omen of the Sea. Narset kind of counts. So top that. And then I don't think it makes a huge difference if we attack with Gideon or if we plus this. In fact, the opponent might just chump block and that might fuel like a dig through time or something. So I think it's actually better if we don't attack. All right, opponent, your move. They are reasonably likely to be able to kill us here. All right, Hidden Strings. Yeah, because they can go like Lurrus into Underworld Breach. That's kind of sick. I kind of like this build. Okay, so they have an Underworld Breach. Plus Hidden Strings means they have bajillions of mana. Then they just need some kind of payoff, which I guess is that Fae of Wishes in the art. I didn't even realize this was a Fae of Wishes. This art is pretty cool. So the combo here is they can get Tomb Scour. Yeah, then they can basically mill themselves with this. Then use Underworld Breach to cast Hidden Strings, and then another Tomb Scour. And I believe this nets them mana. I think they're at like -1 card in graveyard plus 3 mana every loop that they do that. So it's basically deterministic, since they just double cast a Tomb Scour one time, and then they have Pour Over the Pages, so they'll be able to do stuff. Yeah, I'm really thinking between the Winota deck and this deck, having a Grafdigger's Cage in the sideboard to wish for would be pretty solid. Maybe over the Tormod's Crypt. Not quite sure. I'm also not sure what their win condition is going to be, so I'm actually kind of curious about that. I think it's usually Thassa's Oracle, but they could also, I guess, just wish for 4-mana Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, once they have no cards in their library left. So we'll see. If they also don't have a way to deal with Gideon, which I'm sure they do, then then they can't win the game. But they just milled a blink of an eye, so yeah, they'll be able to get rid of Gideon. I guess there's also the extremely slight chance that they mess up somehow, like if they Tomb Scour and then Pour Over the Pages on accident. But I'm pretty confident that our opponent is competent enough to not do that. We'll see anyway. Okay, and there's the Thassa's Oracle, and they win the game. All right, so one of the unfortunate parts here is that we'd really like to have things to wish for in order to interact. But I guess since Damping Sphere, Tormod's Crypt, and Rest in Peace are all such good things to wish for, we can probably afford to bring in like one of them. Then suppose I'll get rid of one of our sweepers. Doesn't really matter which one. Yeah, let's try it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. We are going first. We'll show our Yorion, and they'll show us Lurrus. Okay. This hand's a little sketchy. Narset helps. It means that their Pour Over the Pages isn't very good. But we also only have 2 lands, neither of which has a basic land type. These 2 Chance for Glories aren't doing anything if we don't get like a Days Undoing or something. This hand is pretty sketchy. I don't think we can keep it. And this is unfortunate because now we have these 2 cards that are pretty useless in the matchup. But I think we got to keep this one, and I suppose we'll get rid of Chandra. So we could just cycle Shark Typhoon on turn 2. I think that's probably going to be what I do, since I think we just need to look for more action. And then turn 3 is going to be Narset, and hopefully turn 4 is going to be some kind of action. So, alright, turn 2 is a big one for the opponent. They could be casting like a Thespian, or I was going to say Sylvan Scrying, but not if they play that Temple of Mystery. This is also some pretty cool art. Looks like a Magic Online promo. Alright, let's cycle this Shark Typhoon and get a 0/0 Shark. Okay, Triome. Well, we need to shock the Hallowed Fountain if we want to cast Narset, so... Oops. Maybe I should tap the correct colors of mana. Discontinuity is nice. Yeah, let's take Discontinuity over Fires. Yeah, I guess Discontinuity and Fires of Invention don't work especially well together, since, you'd like to cast this on your opponent's turn. Alright, opponent has revealed Lotus Field off of their Sylvan Scrying. Alright, Narset, what can you show us? Well, like I said, Fires of Invention doesn't actually work too well with Discontinuity, so I might not cast this. Um, So we could either cast this Narset, or we could get Yorion in preparation for casting Yorion. I think let's cast this Narset, and then we'll be able to minus and look for something. But I think first we'll plus. Yeah, this is also a little awkward because our 2 lands are both tap lands. So, oh, it's annoying. Lotus Field and a Thespian Stage. Alright, opponent now has 2 Lotus Fields. So this is pretty annoying. I think I can just Narset minus here and probably throw away Supreme Verdict for no reason. Oh, interesting. That minus is an optional. Okay, we might need to discard a Triome then, so that we don't kill our own Planeswalkers. That's awkward. But we really need to find some kind of interaction, so... Alright, Rest in Peace counts. So, discard a Triome. Cast RIP. And we'll play the Triome so that we'll have access to Discontinuity on the following turn. That's a lot of mana. What's going on? Undo. Okay, opponent is making a wish. Ugin the Spirit Dragon? Uh-oh. Oh no. Another Hidden Strings? Oh my god. What a disaster. Yep, there's Ugin. And that is almost certainly game over. There goes our whole board. This discontinuity isn't going to matter. Yeah. And they have a Fae of Wishes, because why not? Okay, yeah, there's no way we're winning this game. See you for the next one. Okay, here we are for the 5th and final match. We'll show our opponent our Yorion, and they will show us another Lurrus. It's a different Lurrus player, though. Once again, this is a little sketchy at 2 lands. We also need another blue source in order to cast Narset, but we do have Detention Sphere. We also don't have any sweepers, so if we get behind, we can't really catch up that easily. I feel like this needs to be a mulligan. It's just a little bit too sketchy. Alright, this one's fine. We have Omen of the Sea to look for a 3rd land, and keep that one. We don't need double fires. So we have to play the Triome turn 1 so that we can Hallowed Fountain turn 2 and look for a 3rd and 4th land with this Omen. Uh-oh. Our poor thoughts. Nope. Archfiend's Vessel. Well, that's kind of sick with Lurrus. Yeah, with Lurrus, if this ever dies, they'll be able to cast a 1-mana 5/5. That's... yeah, that's pretty nice. Okay. So, red-black. I'm guessing this is probably a sacrifice-themed deck. Never really seen this before. Dreadhorde Arcanist. Okay. See if we can find a 4th land. Then we'll be able to do something pretty sick. Let's see, there's a 4th land. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think this Fae of Wishes is important. So our pretty sick play is we can Chance for Glory at the opponent's end step. Then on our turn 4, we go Fires of Invention, Days Undoing. That will end the turn. I was worried that was another Thoughtseize. Or a Thoughtseize. I guess I should have put the Fae of Wishes on top in case we get Thought Seized. Uh-oh. So it is a sacrifice-themed deck. Interesting. They might even Dreadhorde Arcanist and sack this Archfiend's Vessel. Hope they do. We'd be pretty happy for them to put more cards in the graveyard. As long as they don't Thoughtseize us. If they do Thoughtseize us, we're in a lot of trouble. Yeah, definitely should have thought about what happens in the Thoughtseize scenario. Okay, whew. All these single black mana cards, I keep thinking we're gonna lose our cards. But anyway, here's our chance. Our chance for much glory. All right, so now we get to go Fires of Invention. We'll nuke your graveyard and also get fresh hands. Because this ends the turn, we don't have to lose the game trigger from Chance for Glory, so we will just not lose the game. All right, what are we doing now? So this Elspeth Conquers Death is only ever going to hit Lurrus, so that's something to keep in mind. I think we're going to probably cycle Shark Typhoon, so I think it's probably Teferi, bounce Dreadhorde Arcanist, and then Gideon plus on Stitcher Supplier, but I guess it depends on what we draw with Teferi. So because I expect to cycle Shark Typhoon, we're not going to activate the castle, so I think it makes sense to play the Interplanar Beacon, so that will just get the most extra life here. And we'll bounce that. Fae of Wishes, huh? Well, if we wish for something, that'll be our second spell. So I think we're better off just playing a Gideon, probably. Yeah, I think we're better off just playing a Gideon. All right, your move, opponent. There's the Thoughtseize. I think I'll cycle a Shark Typhoon. It's rough. We'll probably take the Fae of Wishes. I think that's kind of by far the better of the two spells that we have in hand. Oh. Okay. There's the Dreadhorde Arcanist again. Oh. Alright, they just had a second Thoughtseize, sure. Well, this is the time when Yorion really comes in handy. So I suppose I will plus on really make a difference. Guess the Stitcher's Supplier. There. Yorion in our hand. And then I guess I'll have 3 mana so that we can Omen of the Sea after Yorion comes back. I also think we want the Shark back on defense. This doesn't make a huge difference. Yeah, I'll leave it back. I don't think it makes a significant difference. Anyway, if we had a 3 mana spell to cast, we could get rid of the Fires of Invention and then cast it, but we don't. So I'll just blink these two. This will add 2 counters to Teferi, which is pretty sick. Alright, so if on this Omen of the Sea, if we hit either an Omen of the Sea or a Chance for Glory, then we'll be able to cast it. It's kind of cool. So let's see. The opponent's probably going to Thoughtseize us, so I think my plan is to put both of these on top, hiding the Narset. Draw the Narset safely, and not get it Thoughtseized. They're probably going to Thoughtseize with the Dreadhorde Arcanist, although it's kind of a suicide attack, so maybe they won't. Okay, a Village Rites from the opponent. I feel like wishing for a Rest in Peace is going to be pretty powerful if we ever get the chance. Alright. Looks pretty suicidal. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and double block just in case they have, I don't know, like a Fatal Push or something. Oh, did they decline the Thoughtseize? That's interesting. Okay. Well, I don't fully understand this, but sure. Okay. I don't really know what that was about, but alright. Opponent had 7 cards in hand. They knew we had almost all lands. Well, anyway. Our opponent seems very much like an aggro deck. The thing I wonder, though, is do we want to keep this Anger of the Gods in the sideboard so that we can wish for it? I guess so. So I'll bring in these two. I think Elspeth Conquers Death is not where we want to be, since that only hits Lurrus. And I think I'll take out Oath of Teferi. It's just a little slow. Alright, let's try it like that. Okay, here we are for game 2. We will show Yorion, opponent shows Lurrus, and we are going second. Yeah, this hand's not amazing, but I'll go ahead and keep it. 3 mana Planeswalker is, you know, pretty fine. Alright, opponent has no 1 mana play. I also mentioned this before, but against a Thoughtseize deck, I feel like your hands generally don't get better by mulliganing. If, you know, we had a pretty fine 7. It wasn't amazing by any means, but it was entirely acceptable. Yep, and here's a Duress. So just having more cards in hand, definitely good here. We also have the nice Days Undoing Narset combo now, if our opponent allows that to happen. Alright, our opponent does not allow that to happen, so go ahead and play a land and pass the turn. Drill Bit. Interesting. So I could cast Days Undoing just to restock our hand, but that would bring us from, you know, 5 cards to 7, and our opponent would go from 4 cards to 7, so that seems not worth it. Instead, I think I'll just go for a no-value Yorion. Yeah, this Fires plus Discontinuity is kind of awkward. Alright, opponent puts Lurrus in hand, with also not really anything of value in the graveyard. Okay, how about a no-value Fires of Invention? Alright. Yeah, you gotta love Fires of Invention past the turn. Alright, there's Lurrus from the opponent. Like I said, they don't really have any interesting. They just straight up Village Rights to the Lurrus just to draw 2 cards. And Thoughtseize us. Alright, well, bye-bye Yorion. I mean, I feel like this has to be good for us in that the opponent hasn't cast any spell. Okay, yeah, that's pretty solid. I think I'm gonna scry first and see if we can put another spell on top. Let's see. So we can go Teferi into Chance for Glory, and then on our second turn we can either Discontinuity or Days Undoing. I like that. Bottom that, top that. Spell number 1, Teferi Hero. Good old big Teferi. Spell number 2, take a chance. Alright, so now we need to either cast Discontinuity or cast Days Undoing. Alright, and our opponent has given up. Alright, I'll see you for the wrap-up. Okay, so we went 3-2, which is not bad, but not amazing. We beat Kethis combo, we beat Winota, and we beat Black-Red Sacrifice, and we lost to Inverter, and we lost to Underworld Breach. So it may be a little bit telling that we lost to 2 combo decks. One problem that we have is we don't have enough cards to sideboard in because so much of our sideboard is a dedicated wish board. In fact, all 14 cards that aren't Yorion, basically. What that means is in combo matchups, we still have Supreme Verdict in our deck in game 2, or Deafening Clarion, when those cards really just don't really do anything. On the other hand, if we, have actual sideboard cards to bring in instead of for Fae of Wishes, there's a weird tension between, leaving something in the sideboard so that we can wish for it, or bringing it in so that we can draw it, which is also just difficult in an 80-card deck for Yorion. Aside from that, the sideboard may also need to be updated. In particular, our cards like Grafstigger's Cage would be very good against both Underworld Breach and Winota. Originally, I had Tormod's Crypt in the sideboard because I thought against a graveyard deck you might need to interact as soon as possible. So Fae of Wishes would allow you in game 1 to just cast Granted on turn 4, pick up your Tormod's Crypt, and then cast it immediately on turn 4. Whereas if you have Grafdigger's Cage in your sideboard, you would be able to cast it on turn 5 instead, which might be too slow. There was also a bit of an awkward tension between Fires of Invention and Discontinuity. Discontinuity just really doesn't work well when you have a Fires of Invention out. So it might not be the card for this particular deck, though it is a reasonably powerful card. It just didn't feel very strong in this build. New Teferi was also pretty cool. It's unfortunate that he's not card advantage like Jace is. Instead, he's only card selection. And one problem that I noticed is, not adding more cards to our hand can mean we just run out of things to do. And that phase out ability is a little bit awkward with our sorcery speed interaction. So I don't think Teferi is amazing in this deck either, but he is pretty solid. The rest of the Planeswalker suite felt pretty solid. Teferi is kind of just the glue that holds it all together. Narset is just a solid way to find more cards and also have a bit of hate for the opponent if they're randomly on draw spells. Gideon works very well with our sweepers, just +1ing to encourage your opponent to play more creatures, and then boom, there they all go. And the rest of the Planeswalkers were pretty solid too. Overall, this deck is a lot of fun. I do think I would probably trim the Discontinuity, maybe trim a Teferi for another, maybe Jace or another Narset, and then also I'd consider reworking the sideboard based on what I would expect the meta to look like. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you for the next one.